today in the studio, folks, I got a real treat. I got a double treat for you. Alex and Leila Hormozi. Folks, if you guys don't know who these two are, I'm sure you will. You probably already do. But if you don't, go check them out at Hormozi and at Leila Hormozi, Leila, both individual Instagram handles. And trust me, if you guys are into making money, you're going to like this episode here. Now, Alex, you wrote 100 Million Offers?
Yes.
And a series?
Yes.
Yeah. And ultimately, you found fame. You're and Leila's both, because everyone's heard your story that knows you. But for those that don't maybe know you, that are listening to this, you guys were broke, found each other, and built a fucking $150 million portfolio. Yee! And how old are you?
32.
And he's only 32. How old are you?
29.
29. Smarter than a fucking, I don't even want to cuss because I want this to be shared. Smarter than a whip. Both of them. They know business. It's unbelievable. If you guys ain't following their content, I'm telling you better. And also acquisition.com. And I'm just going to spill them out here just in case someone shuts this off real quick. Acquisition.com. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. You're basically saying, hey, if you're making 3 to 10 million or more and you want to scale that bitch, call us.
That's exactly what it is.
And then you'll either invest, buy a piece, buy the whole thing. You'll do a bunch of shit. Like you're just getting deal flow like it's going out of style, aren't you?
It's been going really well. Yeah. We actually just do minority partnerships right now. So we're always minority stakes in the companies. We don't take majority, at least for the next, few years.
Mm-hmm.
So do you guys just go in there and show them how to do it?
It's a lot of, it's mostly like nose in, hands off on most areas. And then the area that we involve ourselves in the most is recruiting. So we actually do a lot of the recruiting for their leadership in-house, just because we've seen that's like probably where most people kind of go wrong. But the rest of it's, we kind of do like the overall company strategy. Then we go and, he does his pricing and packaging. I do the org review and organizational design. Then we dive into functionals like sales, marketing, finance. So we try to do the whole thing. It's just a matter of like, we plan it out over the next 3 years, basically. So we're like, we get the business and we're like, how are we going to triple this business in 3 years? And we lay out the plan for that. And then we give it to them on the first day that we kind of kick off with them. And we're like, this is what we're going to do.
Okay. So now how did you guys go from broke in love to rich and genius?
The short story was we met on Bumble. I met Leila on our first date after she tried not to go on the first date with me. Within, pretty quickly, I just realized I really liked her. We talked for 4 hours just about business, didn't talk about anything that was not business and money related. And I was like, man, this bitch is interesting. And so we ended up just hanging out every day after that. And I was like, hey, I'm going to start this gym launch thing. So I had 6 gyms at the time, or five gyms at the time. And I was like, I'm going to start this thing where I like fly out to gyms, do these turnarounds. I think there's like some money to be made there. And she was like, all right, cool. So, but
now what were you doing at this point?
I was in person and online personal training. So I had like basically built up a big roster at like a 24-hour.
You were getting people in shape.
Yeah. It was just like super
Is that how you all knew each other?
Yeah, not that we met through Bumble, the dating app.
Oh yeah,
but
Bumble.
She looked fit on her thing and I was into fitness, and so it made sense.
Yeah.
Living in the same town or no?
Yeah, close enough.
Newport Beach.
All right.
Yeah.
So you met on Bumble, and then you were online training and...
Yeah, I was doing online in person, and I was kind of trying to figure it out because I knew that I wanted to either own a gym next or make an online training business. And I had 2 people kind of, proposing partnerships-ish on each side. And then I met Alex and I told him that I think like the second date or something. And he was like, you should not do either of those. He was like, you'll make way more money if you do something with me. And I was like, dude, I don't even know you.
Not untrue.
And he was like, I know. He's like, but even if this didn't work out, romantically, he's like, I really think we could make a ton of money together. And I was super career oriented at that time. So I was like, shit, I'm like 23. What do I have to lose if it doesn't work out?
So he recruited you basically.
100%.
Yeah.
And see, how did you know to recruit her? What was she displaying?
So she was number 1 sales rep for all of Orange County at 24-hour, which is the biggest chain, in California. So the fact that she was 23 and she was the number 1 sales rep, I was like, all right, if she can sell, then we can make money together. Because I already knew the marketing side. So I was like, I just need people who can close, because if I can get all the leads we need. And so that was how I knew that she was good. But then everything else she was talking about, I could tell that she was either interested or really knew the things that she was talking about. And I didn't have anybody to help me with gym launch, which was going to be the new company. And so I pitched her on the idea, and she said no.
And just for the listeners, gym launch would basically do what?
So gym launch for the first just under 2 years was a turnaround business. So we used to fly out to gyms in person. I'd turn on the marketing, and then we'd sit at the front desk and fill the gym up with sales, and usually in under 30 days. So
now, would the owners just ship themselves?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they don't know how to do this.
Right.
That's what we didn't know, though. So we're like, this is amazing. We're giving you so many clients. And then they would call and be like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Coach.
What do you mean?
It's dropping bombs.
Why would they be mad?
They would get mad because typically if somebody's coming to you because they're struggling, it's because they usually don't have a very good product, very good team to begin with. And so we then just turn a 10 out of 10 marketing solution onto a mediocre-ish product and blow way more capacity. So let's say you have a CrossFit gym that's got 70 members. 30 days later, they have 270 members. So we just tripled how many people, or quadrupled how many people they were handling in 30 days. So they didn't have the time to build the infrastructure, the team, any of that stuff. And so we just blew the roof off the things. And, for us, since we were incentivized just on upfront cash, we were just like, we tried to sell as many people as we possibly could in that period of time. But for them, at some point, they were like, hey, man, stop selling. So I'm like, dude, I got to cover hotels. I got to cover airfare. Like, we're going to keep selling through the entire 30 days that we said. And so that started to create some sort of contention there. And then also the average gym owner.
Selling too much.
Yeah, dude, it was.
Yeah, and the average gym owner would make $30,000 a year on average. That's what they take home. And so they'd see these kids, 23 and 26, flying in and ripping $100,000 out of their gym in 30 days. And they're like, fuck these people. And so that was like part of the issue earlier on.
Yeah, it was bad. Like there was one time
I don't know why though. See, I'm in the rev share game, and there's a lot of small-minded thinkers out there. I don't want to rev share with him. Why would you rather make $1 million on your own than $3 million with me? Just so you don't have to give me any.
I think that's what keeps you small.
It sounds like the gym business was the same way. They were getting pissed because they're watching two kids rip 100 G's out of their facility. Plus, they're probably watching what you were doing, and they think, "Oh, I can do it myself now."
Semi.
Yeah.
So did you develop this marketing plan with your own?
With my gyms,
and it worked there. So what was the plan?
So we'd run free offers on the front end, usually free challenges, and then people would come in, and then we'd sell them a version of a paid program, and then 2 days later they'd come in and we'd sell them $200 or $300 in supplements, and so we'd make $600 to $900 in the first 30 days for a new client, and that was our deal. So we kept the upfront cash for the first program they'd sign up for, and then everything they did after that was the gym. So that was kind of the split. We keep the upfront cash, and then if they convert into members, you get everything else.
Which is funny because all the upfront is the cash. After that, it's $9 a month.
Well, the gyms that we were working with are like $200 a month. So for them, it was because they were service facilities.
But still, you tripled their business.
Yeah.
How can anyone be pissed at that?
Most of them are all pissed.
If you guys said to me right now, Brad, I'll take Lightspeed and triple its business, but I want a upfront chunk or whatever it is, I'd be like, all right.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't anyone do that?
I think it's a lot of them are small for reasons. And then they also, it's like they don't have the skills to retain the clients. So it's like until you've had to acquire 200 clients on your own, you haven't given yourself the time to acquire the skills of how to service those clients. So we brought them all in. And like there was one time where I was in a gym in Hawaii, which I'm pretty sure he forbid me from coming back to the gym. And I sold like 260 people in 30 days. And I was like doing pitches. Like there'd be 10 people in a room because Hawaii, everyone brings their friends. They're like, I would like have an appointment with 2 people. And then I was like, dude, why are there 11 people in here? They're like, well, I brought my family. Like, it sounds like an amazing deal. And I was like, this is insane. So I'd be doing like,
sell them all.
Oh yeah, it was amazing.
100%.
It was
500.
It was insane. But like they came in one day, I'll never forget, like this trainer, her name was like Stacy or something. Probably shouldn't say it. And she walked in and she was like, you need to effing stop. And I was like, why? She's like, I don't want to service anyone else in this gym. And I had all these people sitting there and I was like, Stacy, you need, leave. And then she left and I was like, don't listen to Stacy. She's a little stressed right now. It's like, we're going to change your life. But like, it was crazy. I mean, I mean, that's why we ended up switching the model. We were like, we can't keep selling people into the gyms. We have to teach people how to do this for themselves and then teach them all the other skills to retain the clients.
Yeah. So, because at the end of the day, like some of the members were, their lives are improving. Some of the gym owners, their lives are improving, but there was a lot of like inefficiency. Like there's tons of people who were signing up for weight loss challenges and had a terrible experience at the gym. And there are tons of gym owners who had bad experiences with us because we just blew the roof off the place. Like it was beyond what would have been helpful. And then they had to deal with like all the negativity of like having overfilled classes and you can't accommodate the people and all that kind of stuff. And so that's when we switched to teaching people how to do it. And then that way they could throttle the volume based on whatever they wanted to do. And so that's when we switched from in-person turnaround business to the licensing model. And that's when everything like really, really took off, because we could only do, at our peak, we were doing 8 facilities a month. So we had, 8 sales guys. They'd fly out and they'd do the same model for each of these gyms. That was the peak. And that was like maybe $300,000 a month. But once we switched to the licensing, within 6 months, we were doing, $2 million a month. And it was just a different game.
And when that dough started rolling in, you didn't run out and get cars and a bunch of sexy houses. You guys just stayed like in a 1-bedroom apartment with a Volkswagen or some shit.
Yeah, Mosey Mobile. Yeah. We had our dented Prius with a crack in the windshield. And we pulled up to our mastermind, and someone was like, I thought you guys were supposed to be successful.
It was just like, we're so young and we were terrified. Yeah. Like, I didn't even want to touch the money. You know what happened? Is we literally got to a point where the guy from Chase called us and he was like, Leila. And I was like, what? He's like, there's $9 million in your checking account for your business. And I was like, yeah, it's fine. Just leave it there. And he's like, I can't leave it here. It's not good to keep this in here. You need to take it out and put it in a different account. And I was like, where do I put it? Like, we were so terrified. We're like, didn't know what to do with the money. Didn't know how to move the money. Didn't know what to do to invest it.
Like, you should call me.
To Leila's point, like, it looks like frugality now, but it was mostly fear. You know what I mean? It was just, we just didn't want to mess anything up. And we did. And, when we started Gym Launch and it started blowing up, I just told Leila, I was like, I think we got 18 months. I was like, I don't know how long this is going to last. Like, we might saturate every market really fast and then it's going to disappear. That ended up not being the case. But like, I was 100% hell-bent on like, we got a year and a half. So we're going to not spend anything and we're going to just plow all the cash into our bank account so that we can hopefully like have breathing room.
Yeah, and that was what a lot of like mentors told us early on. We got invited to this mastermind where it was all people doing 8 figures, and we had just started making like $300,000 from the 2 of us with an EA from like our kitchen table. Yeah. And we went there, and they were basically like, "Dude, when it feels this easy, you need to hit the gas because all the dudes who are bigger than you, they're gonna see what you're doing, and they're gonna take your shit." And we were like, "Dude, we don't want that. Like, this is finally starting to work." And so we just went all in, like absolute, just 10 out of 10 work mode.
Yeah, and we didn't. I mean, we actually, after we went to that meeting, we sat down and basically wrote down all the things that we were willing to give up. So we're like, we're not drinking anymore. We're not seeing friends anymore. We're not going out anymore. We're not doing vacations. We're not doing weekends. I was like, that was it. And so basically from then until, and that was.
Did you like that plan?
Yeah. I was the same way.
Same page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it might have been difficult. It may have been a different story had
sure.
you not been on that page.
Yeah. And I think a lot of, it's not common, I think, for either person to just be like, let's sacrifice everything to do this. But I think when we both met, we're both at that point where we just really wanted to succeed at something. Yeah. And so it worked.
Yeah, we were both willing to take short-term sacrifice for an extended period. So it was about 3 years, 2.5, 3 years that we didn't do. We didn't drink. We didn't go out. We really didn't see friends. Ryan Moran from capitalism.com, he jokes about it because he like met us in Austin because somebody connected us. And he's like, hey, so when do you guys want to hang out? And we're like, we don't really do that. He was like, what? I was like, yeah, I appreciate you sound awesome, but like, we're just really doing what we're doing right now. And I texted him like 18 months later. I was like, hey man, Leila and I have decided that we are seeing friends now. So if you'd like to have dinner, I'm open. He was like, this is the weirdest text I've ever seen.
That's what I mean by you guys. Like, you guys are like freaking almost robotic. In when it comes to like intelligence and logic, I would say that you guys got the majority of it when it was doled out.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true, but maybe Alex more than me.
Yeah, because you figured it out for yourselves, but then you went and figured it out for a bunch of other people. Now you're basically getting equity in companies to basically go in and fix companies.
I just don't, it's funny though, because like we were talking about this the other day, I'm like, business is not that hard. Being like a rocket scientist or like a biochemist, like that shit is hard, but business is like,
listen. Okay, well then help me out here, okay? Because I'm pretty good at business, I think, as far as the vision goes, meaning if we did this, we'd make zillions, but then I can't get that to happen. Yeah. So how do you get the people to execute? Like you said, you have this guy or that guy. Yeah. I try to get people and I say, hey, let's do this. And then I just can't seem to get it there. Like sometimes I say, we need a new website. Like our website needs to say this and do this. And, 2 years goes by, there's still no website that does that. Mm. And I'm like, what do I do? How do you execute?
Well, the reason so there's like the strategy, right? You have the vision of like, okay, if we're trying to maximize enterprise value, if we just do these 2 things, we can 10x the value of the business. So everyone in agreement with that. Cool. So we get agreement on that big picture thing. And then usually there's skill sets missing on the team. And so that's why the only thing that we really do in-house is we recruit, because.
Well, can you let me pay you to recruit?
Well, we don't do it for pay because like we don't.
I know, but like, you know me, I'm special.
It's like because
you guys, I'm special. You want someone to be able to hang out with you, right?
Always.
Like when you guys got that kind of loot, pretty soon you're going to be just like, where you at? Oh, we're in Greece. What about your businesses?
We just love.
We're running it from Greece. You guys never been to Greece?
We haven't.
You don't travel either?
Not much. No, we travel stuff in the U.S. Yeah, we're doing more
States.
speaking stuff. Yeah,
I'm going to give you guys a nickname: the Lady and the Lumberjack.
Oh my God, it's going to be the podcast title now.
The Lady and the Lumberjack. You guys are just like down to earth as it gets. It just blows my mind. Like you bought a Bentley because I said, come on, spend some money. Then you bought it and you're like, this ain't fucking. It doesn't pay off. Or what'd you say?
It's not my speed. It's not my vibe.
Yeah, but the
return.
ROI or some shit. Like I heard your story.
Well, I just don't get. I don't like the marginal return on like the money spent there. I just don't get the same amount if I were to just spend it.
You don't like to go and sit in a badass car?
Not really. Now, like the gym equipment that I have, I spend a lot of money on that. I would say I spent like $150,000 on a home gym. Like that's a lot of money.
You know Andy Frisella?
Yeah.
Good dude. Go check out his freaking home gym. Go check out his headquarters.
We're
going
going
in like
week.
5 days.
Yeah, 5 days.
Dude, it's the dumbest shit ever. You guys are going to be fast friends. Number one, Emily's cool as shit. She's like the new Martha Stewart.
We've heard they're awesome.
Everyone's told me that. They're like, you and Emily need to meet.
Yeah, and Andy's like the real deal. When you like, if he takes you to his home and let you see like under the hood, that dude's got some kick ass shit. Like I had no idea the first form was as big as it actually is.
It's enormous.
It's super big. Yeah.
Or the influence that Andy actually has.
Yeah, he has a lot. The thing, it's like for Andy though, like he loves cars, and I feel like that's like real for him. And so like if we were to get a car like a Bentley or something, it wouldn't be for us. It would be like to look a certain way because we don't. It's not.
You don't like cool. Leather.
I mean, there's leather Teslas. You know what I mean? There's leather.
Neither of us have cared about
What are
cars.
you guys driving right now?
Tesla.
Yeah.
Is it the Plaid or?
No, I got like a used.
It's the base model.
Used base model. The ROI on the upgraded level didn't really make sense. No. It's an input output kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, no, I like nice clothes and like bags and shoes and stuff. So like we don't. It's not like I like that stuff. I've always liked stuff like that. So like I don't.
So you splurge on clothes.
She spends money on clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You don't spend money.
I spend money on domains. I like domains. I'm a domain collector.
Oh
a lot.
I have hundreds and hundreds of domains. I think it's like digital real estate.
Oh yeah, I mean I like it, and it's also like you get a brand and it's easy to remember because like it's funny because one of the guys in the building is a tech guy and he was looking up the stuff for acquisition.com. He was like, dude, 80% of your traffic is from hand keyed in people. So people like type in acquisition.com. He's like, that's insane. He's like, no one types in URLs anymore. And I was like, well, if it's easy to remember, maybe I didn't know that when we got it, but I was like, oh, okay, well that's neat. Good to know. And so I think sometimes there is like real ROI on an easier, simpler, shorter domain that people can understand.
Or longer.
Yeah.
Think about phrases.
Yeah. So easy to remember.
Dude, I own Get That Motherfucker on the Phone. I'm serious. Get That Motherfucker on the Phone.com. Like that could be something.
Oh my God.
I've also got You Better Know His Name.com. You better know his name because
what business?
One time I started looking about the name of Jesus, and that's not his name. And so, like, you better know his name.
There you go.
.com. Mm-hmm. But I just keep them. Why not? I got nightmareemployees.com.
What?
Well, dude, I wanted to start like a freaking Yelp or a Green Door or whatever for fucking business owners because this Glassdoor shit. You should go read my Glassdoor reviews, by the way, because I comment on all of them. It's hilarious. but it's just, I think, there's some nightmare employees, and I think other employers would benefit from knowing Alex Hormozi is a piece of shit. He fucking sued the last 3 companies he worked for. He's always got some sort of illness, He's so good.
Great. Yeah.
Right? So now you go to apply for a job, and guess what? There's a credit rating on your ass from employers.
They run the Carfax.
They run the Carfax on the employee. It's called nightmareemployees.com.
Some businesses just
anybody
expect
want to
this.
launch that? Hey, you want to acquire that one?
It's doing 3 million or more.
See, but I already think I figured you two out with the acquisition thing. So it's just deal flow. And all the deal flow comes in. You guys just look, can we do something with these guys?
Mhm.
Yeah, we could probably quadruple that shit. All right, let's make a deal. Can we do something with these guys? It's that simple.
Well, I would say actually the only thing is like there's a ton of businesses that are like really appealing, but then you meet the founder or the CEO and you're like, dude.
Is that what happened with Lightspeed? You guys are like, hey, dude, he ain't coachable. That dude ain't coachable. He'll blow all the money. But see,
I mean, bigger companies are harder.
But I'm also different. I'm a different animal. I'd give you the whole shebang. I'd say, freaking, hey, I won't be spending any money.
I feel like I'm getting sold. You came here to get sold.
No, I'll go home and just look at my watch for 3 months. Because when you guys walked in here, if you could execute even half the shit I need executed, this place would be worth hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. Like, it's unbelievable what this place could do.
The untapped potential.
Unbelievable. And if you guys walked in here, you'd be like, well, they're not marketing. Oh, well, let's start that. Bam! And all of a sudden I'll be like, holy shit, how'd you do that? You marketed. How important do you think marketing is? If a small business is running $500,000 a month and they want to triple it, would marketing have something to do with it?
Depends. So if you think about like a car, like how important is the wheel to the car? How important is the engine to the car? Like they all have to be there in order for the car to run. And so, but from that is a whole system has to work together. From a business perspective, I think that there's sequence of importance. So like when you're at zero, you got to sell something to someone, period. Like that's how you have to make money. Once you get to like usually 250,000 a month ish, 200 to 400, 500 is usually at that point, they've learned some level of marketing to get there. And they think that they should market more to get to the next level. And oftentimes that's not the case. Yeah. And that's
Explain.
I mean, most of the times when they come in, they think they need more marketing. And that's why I think they're attracted to us, because it's acquisition.com and Alex is known for being great with marketing and acquisition and pricing and offers. But they come in, and the reason that they're not getting to where they want to go is the lifetime value of those customers is so low, because they have the marketing in place, but they have literally terrible fulfillment. They don't have a back end. Their team is not experienced. And so what's the point in pushing more through a leaky bucket?
Yeah.
And so we fix the bucket first, and then we'll blow the marketing through. And that's worked really well for our companies thus far. I mean, they're all...
Yeah. How do you fix leaky bucket? How long would it take you to fix a
It
bucket?
depends on the nature of the leak or leaks.
How long does it take you to assess the leaks in the bucket?
That doesn't take that long.
That doesn't take that long.
How
Maybe
long?
a few weeks. Maybe
weeks.
maybe 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And then you got the leaky bucket down, and now you just fill it.
Fix it. Yeah, and that takes longer because a lot of the times, I mean, with companies that are between 3 and 10, it's not nearly as hard. And that's why we like that size, because you're basically putting things in place that don't exist. If I take a company like yours, or a company that's doing between 20 and 50 million, they have leaky buckets that have been there for years. And so it's ingrained habits with the whole team.
Yeah,
and there's
but what if you had unbridled authority?
I'd kill myself. I mean, we don't run the companies.
Yeah.
I know. You guys are just advising.
Yeah.
Plus,
and you're collecting equity left and right. Bang, 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 bang.
Yeah.
Like in 10 years, you guys will probably be the first. Well, there's a trillionaire now, isn't there?
I don't know.
You guys might be the world's
Saudi
first.
family.
You guys might be the world's first trillionaires.
I
We got
don't know about that.
And what's
but-
funny is you'll have it all in the bank.
just sitting there. We'll just stare at it.
Yeah.
I'll be like, you
driving
ain't got a
our
car
Tesla?
yet? You'll be like, nope, still got my old truck.
Yeah.
That Tesla's still cranking.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys make it look easy, sound easy. It pisses me off a little bit because, like, I'm sitting on $1 billion deal and I can't get freaking a website designed.
I think you just need
I
an
need
executor.
I need a recruiter.
Yeah.
Well, you need
people.
the one person next to you who does everything for you. Like you need your
Well, can you recruit me one?
I mean, no, but yes, in theory, you can recruit one. But I mean, that's what most people are missing is like, you've got someone like yourself or someone like Alex, who's like this amazing visionary, someone who's got all these great ideas, but like, you just don't have that one person that could be your go-to, who's the filter for the rest of the company that's going to make it all happen. And that's what most people are lacking. And a lot of people have somebody there, but they're resentful of the fact that you don't do as much, right? Because in their mind, like, oh, you're all thinking all day, doing podcasts and bullshit. Like, you see a lot of that. or they don't have the ability to execute because they have no ability to influence the rest of the team. They get someone who's really good at systems and processes and SOPs, but they're not a leader. And so they can't lead a team. They can't even recruit higher level talent that you need because they themselves are not high enough level talent. Yeah. And so it's like, that's often the bottleneck for a company like yours, or a lot of the ones that come in, is they just don't have that person and they underestimate the importance of it.
Yeah.
Because like how good I am is going to dictate how much we can bring his vision to life.
So let's pretend you guys took over today. Let's pretend you took over Lightspeed today. What would be the first hood you want to look under?
We'd probably simplify. Well, we look at all past sales. We look at we look at the offer suite. That's typically the first place that I want to say is a mess, but is one of the easiest, biggest levers that we can pull in the business. So let's look at all the customers we've bought. Let's look at the price points and the packages that were sold to them. Can we bucket these into 2 to 3 things that really make up the bulk of the purchases? And then what are the gross margins associated with those things? And so it's like, okay, well, we've got this product over here that has tons of margin. A lot of people are buying, but like we're not really pushing it very much. Like, that's underutilized. And we've got this other thing that's this big service heavy, customizable thing. Like, well, screw that. That has terrible margins and it's hard to find customers for that. So we configure it usually into a much simpler product suite, which makes it easier for the sales guy to sell, makes it easier for the marketing team to message around. And then operationally, it makes it easier for the business to scale, because if we only have a few things that we have to do, it's easier to do a few things with a lot of volume than lots of things with lots of volume. And so we'll fix that part usually first. And that's usually like the lightest, easiest thing we can do. And then we look at the experience around the products, which is usually more of the back end, which is like customer success, customer experience. What do we do? Like if there's a recurring element, how do we reduce churn? Are there activation points that we can start measuring? Can we decrease time to value, which is a huge one? A lot of times, like a simple example is like weight loss, because everybody understands that. If you have a weight loss program, if you can help someone lose like 10 pounds in the first 14 days, the likelihood that they'll actually stick with it for the long haul is much higher because of the emotional victory. Then they think, oh, this actually works. Even if you change the strategy from the first 14 days to the rest of the time, you say, listen, I showed you that I know what I'm doing. Now we need to go into the slow gradual phase. You're good. You're in good hands. And so it's kind of the same thing with like business stuff. It's like if we can compress the time to value, then people buy into the process of whatever our solution is. And then you get way longer stick rates. They feel like they can justify the price more easily. They don't get cold feet, blah, 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 blah. And so that's usually when we start fixing these things back to front. And usually when we think in terms of tripling companies, we think in 2 triples. So most of the time we can triple the company without actually increasing the marketing for the first triple. Just because I'll give you a different example. So we have 2 businesses that are in the same industry within our portfolio. And the cost of acquisition, and I happen to know a lot about the industry that they're in, the cost of acquisition is within a very narrow range between all companies in that space. But the difference between the massive companies and the small companies is not their cost of acquisition. That's what everyone focuses on. They're like, I got to get better ads. We got to increase our closing percentage. And sure, you should. But those are incremental things. But we can triple or 5x the value of the customer. Then all of a sudden, we can start marketing on 20 channels. We can 10x our ad spend because our return is there now. Whereas most guys they'll have bigger margins in the beginning, they'll increase their ad spend, and then they'll get to this point where they're doing more revenue, but their margins get compressed because the thing that they're selling, they haven't fixed the back end yet. And then that's what ends up hitting their cap, and then they stay there. And that's usually a lot of times when we end up working with companies.
So how did you guys learn it though? Just by doing it?
I think so. I mean, we've done it together, Jim launched Prestige, Alan, and now acquisition.com. And then we started working, 2 years ago with a handful of companies to see if we could do it with other people's companies, and then we were able to outsource Jim Launch and Prestige and Alan. We got those to the point where they could sell, which meant that we had to get people to be leaders, and we turned into the board. So we've gone through the full cycle enough times. It's like, you see the patterns. That's all it is. Experience is pattern recognition. So it's just recognizing the patterns that have happened each time, be like, I see, like that's a thing in every company, not just mine.
Another one of those.
Yeah.
You guys should start a consulting firm.
No. So we like doing it because it's cool, because this way it's like we're long-term partners with these companies, and transparently, if we take something from essentially having no value, because a lot of times a $3 million top line business maybe makes $1 million in profit, and a very heavily involved founder with very little support, which is pretty common. I mean, that's the smallest type company, but just as an example, like there's not a lot of enterprise value there. Like no one's going to actually buy 100% of that company if the founder walks. Like it doesn't make sense. And so
unless there's systems and processes.
then there still have to be some talent on the team to run that playbook. You know what I mean?
Not a lot of people want to buy like an empty warehouse, essentially.
Yeah. And so we know that we're going to take something from close to zero in value, even if it's $2 million, whatever, close to zero in value. And then we know that in, 3 to 5 years, this thing's worth 50. Like, there's no consulting fee that makes sense. You know what I mean? It just doesn't, like, that's why that model doesn't work for what we're doing. I mean, people could do it. It's just not what we would want to do.
We don't like the transactional nature of consulting.
Yeah, like project based.
When people are like, can I pay you for an hour? I'm like,
no.
It just feels gross.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it for people who like it. I don't know.
Well, again, fortunately, you don't have to make your living that way.
Right.
Right. It's almost like the takeaway clothes.
Yeah.
Like you not willing to do it, it makes more people even want you to do it.
Maybe.
Like there's people listening to the show right now going, I'll get them to do it. I'll offer them $1 million.
Nothing.
But what they don't understand is you guys have, I would say, 9 figures sitting around, and you ain't spending it much. You're investing it, all of it, right? What is your goal with that?
Well, I have short-term goals.
Alex has more money goals than me, so.
Yeah, I have more money goals than Leila does. I want to get Leila on the self-made women's list on Forbes. So I think it's the top 50 self-made women to the bottom, and that's 250. So I just want to hit that one. That'll be the first one. And then maybe I can slowly work my way to the men's list.
It's a lot harder to get.
Do you know the men's list?
I think it's like 2 or 3 billion. To be
billion?
Yeah. Like a billion doesn't I guess billionaire would be the next level because at least that's a threshold.
I think billionaire is the new millionaire.
Sorry?
Billionaire is the new millionaire.
I don't disagree.
Like when I was a kid, I always dreamt of being a millionaire.
Yeah.
Thinking a millionaire was a billionaire.
Yeah.
I didn't realize, and maybe back then it still wasn't the case, I don't believe. But $1 million wasn't really that much money even then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100,000 a year was my goal.
Because when you think millionaire as a normal person, you're thinking extravagance and at least decamillionaire level stuff. You're not realizing like that's barely enough to like really do anything.
Yeah, and I don't think that you can at that time predict like the amount of overhead that you're also going to accumulate. So the amount of risk that you have to lose how much of that million with trying to move forward and make more than $1 million is like you're going to lose money trying to make more money. So it's people don't think about that.
Yeah, you lose millions to make decamillions.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, I would have been dropping bombs the whole time if we were dropping bombs. So don't think I forgot. It's just there'd be too many of them. It'd be a carpet bomb.
Just carpet bomb.
I can't hear anything.
It's just the whole episode's bombs.
So does it feel good when you wake up in the morning, obviously, to where you can pretty much do whatever you want? What couldn't you do right now?
I think it's not what you can't do, but like based on our goals, what we have restricted ourselves to achieve those goals. So like going on a lot of vacations right now, taking a lot more time with friends, doing a lot of things like at our leisure, waking up and being like, I don't feel like doing anything today. Like that's not how it's working right now at all. So it's very much like we're in the middle of building acquisition. Like we're building all these businesses, but at the same time, we're building our team at acquisition.com. It's not just me and Alex. We have really talented, high-level people that are on that team so that we can expand our portfolio without losing quality in terms of our service and like how much we can help them.
Yeah.
Where are you finding these people?
All over the place. I mean, there's referrals, there's LinkedIn, there's, scraping lists from, Harvard or McKinsey or, whatever, and finding people that just recently graduated or work at a place, and just outbound. And so most of it's outbound. There's not much inbound.
What is your weight on a degree?
Not a ton. I think what I like is to have a healthy mix of people that have institutional knowledge versus in the trenches knowledge. So people have been there, done that, and they've built businesses, or they've been, say the VP of sales for something that's gone from, 5 million to 50 million or 100 million. And then there's people who have, done consulting at McKinsey, and they've worked with companies between 50 and $1 billion. Right. And so I think each of them have a different kind of knowledge. I think that I look at it more as not the knowledge that one person has, but like the collective knowledge of the team and the collective, like the diversity in thinking that we get in that one team. So I don't care about like whatever diversity stuff. I think diversity of thinking, which is like different perspectives. What I think is really great about the team we have now is that everyone can argue. Like we have constantly are arguing with each other. We have conflicting points of views, and yet we have the same values and we understand the mission. And it's because everyone's really smart and talented. They just have different experience. And so that allows us to come to better conclusions than we would if we were all thinking the same way. We all had the same experience. We all kind of like looked and dressed the same way. Like our team is very diverse in terms of like you look at all of us and we're like, we don't look like each other. We don't dress like each other. Like it's great.
Would eclectic fit?
Yeah, I would say everyone's got their own style.
It's diverse.
You know? Yeah.
It's diverse.
Are you guys wordsmiths?
What does that even mean?
You look up words just so you have a much broader vocabulary?
I don't know.
I look at words every day.
I make up words on accident.
I look up words every day too because I like knowing them.
I like looking up normal words.
Like which one?
Like what is a lead?
It's a meadow.
Right? No, I mean like a lead. Everyone talks about like
a lead.
leads. Yeah.
I thought you said a lead.
Oh no.
I was gonna say like dude, that's a deep one, but I know it's a fucking meadow.
Yeah, so less like vocabulary, more just defining terms. I feel like I spend a lot of time on that. A lot.
Is that where you get your framework abilities?
I think it's
I'm gonna start mimicking your framework abilities.
I would love it if more people made framework. It would save it.
If everybody wants the secret to social media, guys, I'm telling you, just go look at their social media and realize that all that shit is intentional. There's no play going on. They are freaking 100%. Well, and you guys are machines. Like you both have it coming out left and right, bang, bang, which means you're sitting around for hours at a time telling the camera frameworks. And thoughts and opinions. You're more thoughts and opinions. He's more framework. But you both kind of do frameworks. You guys collaborate on who's going to do what?
We tend to, I mean, like the more we've spoken together, and also because we've run all the companies together, like we tend to know what the other, like I have a good idea what Leila's probably going to say or what angle she's going to kind of cover on a question. And she probably has a pretty good idea of like what angle or, approach I'm going to have on a question. And so we usually kind of like, it's taken time to not, I'd overtalk or show up, like we've learned that dynamic.
How did you guys learn to do all this? Did you hire experts? Because you're just like, for example, your podcast, like this is my podcast. I accidentally am in the higher rankings. I don't know why. If I were to do what you do, I would be way higher in the rankings. Like, in the beginning, this podcast is brought to you by the way, go here, go there. Like I don't do any of that shit. And that's basic 101 smart things to do.
I don't think so though. I mean, like everything that I've seen that actually like people like your story is not uncommon. There's so many people like Alex's book. There's no optimization to get this book to like sell or blow up. Same with his podcast.
But that book was good. Everybody
that's what I'm saying.
Loves the
your
book
podcast is good.
By the way, $100 million offer or 100M offers. Yeah. There's a sequence coming out after that. Are they out yet?
No, I'm working on leads, which is the next.
But see, that's what I mean by methodical. Like you didn't just write a book. You already knew the 4 you were going to write before you wrote any of them. You already have this master they're all those books lead somewhere. I'm telling you, they're all strategic. They are all exact. I guarantee you that $100 million offer, that's a good one. But people like that book. Yeah. When people start liking books and, it goes around, you can sell quite a few. How many have you sold?
200,000.
Holy shit. See, my book, I sold like 12,000.
Yeah.
It was like not easy either. It took like a year and a half. But I didn't call anybody and say, hey, can you send this to your list? I didn't do anything intelligent, I would say.
Well, it's funny because what you were saying about like, does a business need marketing, right? Like theoretically, the best marketing, and like this sounds old, but like the best marketing is a really good product. And so like, I think the reason this podcast is done well is because like it's a good product. You know what I mean? People talk about it. And if you think about how to market in general, like how do people tell other people about stuff, right? That's what it means. And so most of the times you have input to output in terms of like, I put in a phone call, I put in the input of a post, I make a video, like there's inputs and then there's outputs. And I might add money to that to get even more output, but all of those are still linear equations. So it's like, I put in $1, I get 10, right? And it could be the same for advertising. It'd be the same. I put in 10 phone calls, I get 1, whatever it is. But the only one that's quadratic, so exponential in nature, is word of mouth. One person tells 2, 2 people tell 4, 4 people tell 8. And so like, that's where I think the magic explodes, is when the product is really exceptional. Which is what you're touching on in your podcast. When you say, like at the end, you say, if you found any value in this, tell your buddy or something. I use my very white voice. It's like, but it's just like, I'm listening to him like, I should be doing that. I should be doing that. I should be doing that. And you do it quick and easy and it's almost nonchalant, like you're not even doing it. Honestly, that was Caleb's wreck. I mean, we knocked down 370 episodes before I had a single like, oh yeah, by the way, I have other things that you can check out if you want.
You should
So like,
subscribe.
you know, I think we're big on like just get going, and it's better to get going and then learn along the way than to just try and make it perfect on the
and just give value. Like if you give value, like we just know that goodwill accumulates. People will tell their friends about it. Like we're not so worried about like asking. Like if somebody really wants to know how to buy something from you, they'll Google your freaking name. You know what I mean? And then they'll figure out what you sell. And like we don't actually sell anything, but like people will find other things they can consume from us.
Yeah.
Well, number one, the YouTube channel. Where's that? AlexHormozi.com?
Yeah, or just I mean, if they just search my name, it'll come up.
Did you go get AlexHormozi.tv?
No, but I have AlexHormozi.com. I should probably buy it before this airs.
Well, you should get that one.
Yeah.
Because when people say, well, what's your YouTube channel? I just say Bradley.tv.
Yeah,
when
that's
they go there, it just
Caleb's
redirects.
One hand on the camera, one buying it.
But yeah, you give a lot of framework, a lot of value there. You don't have a podcast, or are you just on his?
No, I'm not even on his. I'm starting one, I think in like maybe 6 weeks we're starting mine. But it's just gonna be a little different. It's gonna be about scaling specifically.
So are you like when it comes to business, when you guys attack, one does something, someone does something else. What is it that you do?
I would actually, just from how you visualize it, we both do the same thing. We do different aspects of it. So it's like, this is the plan we both agree to. And so I'm going to say like, this is what the product suite needs to be. This is what the, maybe the experience needs to look like, et cetera. And then Leila's like, who needs to do this? What type of team needs to exist? What needs the communication cadence of the company to make this happen?
See, that's exactly what I need here.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
See, I need a Leila right now.
I think it's just internal, external for the most. Yeah. And I would say that like Alex is more of a starter and I'm more of a follow through. So like when we start the businesses, he's more involved in the beginning and then I'm more involved after I would say like when it comes to like month 8, then it really switches over and it's like way more Leila. Alex starts pushing off stuff. And
yeah, we've actually noticed that like with each of the companies, it's like I always like go off solo and like go into a cave and like do all this other stuff. And then like things start happening, sales start coming in, et cetera. And then it was like, or I usually go to Leila and I'm like, hey, it'd be really cool if we had a team that could help me out here. And then she's like, okay, fine. And then so she comes in and then so we're kind of like staggered. Like I kind of start and then she kind of continues. And then I usually start on like the next thing that needs to happen in the business. And then usually once that gains traction, she comes in and then she starts building. So it's like parallel tracks.
Do you guys ever argue?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's things we disagree on all the time in business
like fun argue or like argue?
We disagree on stuff rather than, I would say, more than we argue.
It's like, I mean, we disagree on things in the business all the time.
Is anybody more consistently right than the other?
We usually come to an agreement of like, I see where you're coming from. What about this? All right, this sounds like the best path. Let's do that.
So what if like you guys wanted to use the money you have in cash? You have a lot of cash?
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, why would you do that?
Keep cash?
Yeah.
Well, right now, everything that we would have put money into is down like 60%. Just
because you buy stocks?
Well, stocks are some of the things we buy for sure.
But like tax liens aren't down.
Tax liens?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
You don't? Shit, opportunity.
I just don't. The
opportunity,
thing is,
folks.
Like,
hey, how do I get a little piece from my niece? I'll show you guys how to get 25% on your money.
Sounds
every year, guaranteed by law.
I mean, okay, we'll talk about that after.
All right, we'll talk about it after. Good. I just found me a way to make a little dough with the Hormozis. I'm in the Hormozi Nation now.
Oh my God.
Or no, it's Mozi Nation.
Mozi Nation.
It's easier.
Dude, so you guys are growing fast. Everyone listening to this is, I'm sure, already looked you up, Googled you, if they don't already know you. But what's funny is it's not just you, and it's not just you, it's both of you. Like you follow Leila, you get freaking information. You follow Alex, you get information. But you guys are a couple. So it's like normally that's not, that's rare right there.
Unfair advantage.
We kind of saw that. I think as we were building Gym Launch, Alex was always external facing, I was internal.
Yeah.
And then we started acquisition.com. We were like, man, there's not a lot of people, like there's a lot of people that come to us because they know us and they are like run companies together, but we're like, it's not something you see a ton out there, or at least being functional. Or it's like, they run the company together, but like they don't actually run it equally. And so we kind of wanted to.
You have like a helper and a main person, and like that's not our dynamic. And so, sometimes there's couples that are involved in a business together, but they are not equal in influence.
Which honestly, people frequently think. They're like, can you schedule this for Alex? And I'm like, oh my God. But that's the perception is like, people are like, oh yeah, me and my wife own this business, but she's like not involved. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's how it normally is, I would say.
Yeah.
Yes. Which there's nothing wrong with it. It's great. But we wanted to, like, we thought it would be cool to have the two of us out there so that we could show like, there's different ways to do it. You know, there's no right or wrong, but this is also possible.
Yeah.
Just different.
Do you guys have degrees?
Yeah, we have undergrad degrees.
Yeah.
Not using it?
No, I got mine in exercise science. It's very useless.
I got mine in business.
He went to a good school.
Are you using it?
I would not say that I'm using the materials that I learned in college.
Or do you think that the shit you learned in college has merit?
I feel like it's more valuable to learn the theory after you have an experience, because then you can start applying the theoretical to be like, oh, that's what they meant with this. But if you just learn theory and you don't have anything practical to apply to, like, I would love to see what Harvard Business School and like Stanford Business School is about. Like, that would be really cool now. But I think it'd be really hard for me, and not to say like those guys are all smart as whips, but like for me, just for at least how I learn, I feel like it's much easier for me to learn about a framework on selling. Like, I didn't consume my first piece of sales training until after I'd closed thousands of sales. And I was like, oh, that's cool that they've got like rapport. I'm like, oh yeah, I do that. Making some jokes and I try to, like, there are these things that you can recognize later. Whereas if you're trying to like learn sales, you're like, build rapport. You know what I mean? Like, figure out the problem. Like, do
you think sales is natural or can be learned?
I think you can improve on it, but I think there are people who are naturally good at sales.
Just naturally better because they're funnier or
because of whatever soup of DNA and nurture they had in their upbringing. But like, it's funny because I actually use you as an example. So many of the people that I know who are exceptional at selling, almost all of them were immediately world class, and then spent a lot of their time, because usually they move up in whatever organization, thinking like, how am I as good as I am? And then they start trying to teach and duplicate the skills in other people. And so that's where I think there's like a little bit of nature nurture. You can absolutely get somebody who's not good at sales to be better. Like, everyone can improve. But I think that when I look at the people who teach sales, a lot of times, almost all of them were exceptional, like very quickly. And so that's where I'm like, is it nature as a nurture? And like, when we build sales teams, I'd rather pick people who look like stallions and then like train them to run in a certain direction, rather than try and start working out the legs and actually build them into something. You know what I mean? It's easier to take a 6 to a 9 than it is to take a 2 to a 6.
Mm-hmm.
I will say there's also like people who are situationally good at sales. Like, a lot of the companies we have, like their clients say that they have a weight loss program, and the people who graduate that weight loss program can sell their program because they've done it, they believe in it, etc. And so they have all the, like, they don't know that they have sales aptitude there, but they do, just because they naturally believe in the product. And so their whole sales teams are built out of these women who lost like 50, 100 pounds with their program. They have no like formal training or anything, and they couldn't sell a car, they couldn't sell software, they couldn't sell anything else, but they could sell that thing.
Yeah, they're convicted
because they're a example of the product.
Yeah, they just have all the things that you try to create with sales training are just inherent to them because they have the belief.
Yeah.
So I get a lot of people following and listening to this that are like entrepreneurial. When I have an event, like, people show up and they're like, dude, how do you get so many real mofos to show up? And I'm like, I don't know. But maybe I'm real, but at the end of the day, they do. So listeners, how do they like submit? Go to acquisition.com.
Yeah, they go to acquisition.com, click the button, and if you've gotten to this level of success of the company you have, you'll be able to figure it out.
Yeah, and then you guys, that's ultimately what you spend your days doing when you say you're building acquisition.com.
Most of our time is
you're looking at different deal flow.
No, we have someone else who looks at the deal flow, sorts it, and then brings like top contenders to us.
See, now that's smart. See what I'd be doing? I'd be down there in the mess trying to get all freaking dirty. I'd be going nuts.
It's its own full-time job. So,
but that's a smart move. You're filtering out and you're saying, hey, just bring me the cream.
Yeah, and then we spend most of our time talking to the current portfolio companies.
Yeah.
What are the parameters? What does the cream look like?
It's a good question.
Well, the first one is filtering for the person. So, I would say that's probably a piece. If we look at different things, I probably look at the person. You're probably going to look at the market. So I'll cover that piece, which is, we have our 3 core values, which is sincere candor, unimpeachable character, and competitive greatness. And that's what we kind of formulate those, because those are hiring parameters for us. Like, we won't hire somebody who doesn't have those 3 things.
How do you know, though, based on an interview?
I mean, we've put together basically like a list of questions for each one.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I like stalk them online. So you can go look at all their profiles, go look at past things, client reviews. Like you can get a gist for people nowadays. It's very transparent. So you can find examples and then you can ask them questions like situational, whatever interview questions, I guess you could say, to see how they handle those and how they answer the questions. Like I would say that one of the biggest things we look for is someone that doesn't have an ego. If someone's not coachable and they have an ego and they think that their way is the right way, and they're even though they want help, they're still like kind of trying to position with us. It's just not going to be a good fit. We look for people who are really humble. They have a lot of humility. They're really open and minded and coachable, and they understand that we don't think that we are also like God and going to be right every time. It's a partnership. And so I think filtering for the person is the first thing. And that's probably the most important because, I mean, whether humans like it or not, we will talk more to people that we like. And so if we don't like them because they don't fit these 3 traits, it's doing them a disservice because I'm just inherently not going to proactively reach out to them as much.
So if somebody got declined after their submission, is it because you didn't like them?
Well, he's got the other half.
There's lots of, so like right off the bat, probably 80% of the deals get filtered out because of just automated rules of like, they're not big enough. We don't take anyone outside of the US. So like they're out of the country. They might be like manufacturing, which is something that we don't do. So, you know what I mean? Like if one of the obvious no's, even it's amazing business, it's just not our amazing business. So those are the automated rules. And then Leila touched on the entrepreneur, which candidly is still like 80% of the decision, maybe even more. And then the remainder of the decision is, do we like the business? Do we like the market? And the business matters less because we can change the business. You know what I mean? Like, more or less. So it's really, when we talk about the business, it's like, is the depth of experience of the founder sufficient that we think it can build a big enough base to get to 50, 100 million? So a lot of times, and most of our businesses are education businesses. So they teach some sort of skill. And so, if someone's had a moderate level of success in doing the skill and then immediately started teaching it, they don't have the depth of experience to really build a big thing. Whereas if someone has really deep experience, really deep industry knowledge on how to do something really, really well, there's just a lot more potential that we can then wrap around with a much better business. So there's the depth of experience of the founder from the skills perspective, and then the marketplace that we're serving and like the perceived value that we see that they could potentially offer. So sometimes we'll have a founder who is selling something or has an ability that they're not even monetizing, and we see that as like a huge untapped opportunity. And that's where we're like, okay, this is where we talk in triples. So it's like, first triple is going to be, fixing this back end. Second triple is going to be X, Y, and Z. And so if we see the 2 triples, that's when we get much more interested. But like as a quick total tangent on what Leila had said, because you said like, how do you test for that? One, we're wrong plenty. But if you said like, hey, what's your give me an example of something that you failed at in the past, right? And they'll say something that like, or your biggest failure, and they'll give you some example. And you're like, so why do you think that happened? It doesn't really matter what the failure was. But when they start explaining why they think it happened, if you see someone who's like, well, they didn't give me the support I needed, they just set me off on my own and I had no support, blah, 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 then they're just giving all the control to circumstances and other people. Whereas if someone's like, I probably could have, told management much better, like how much I needed help. I probably could have done X, Y, and Z earlier to communicate these things, whatever. Then they're taking ownership. And so there's just an easy differentiator. It has nothing to do with the failure, but how they perceive the failure. And so you can tell by how they speak about it. It gives you some insight.
What do you say if you're doing it face to face and someone's clearly a no? How do you
tell them no?
How do you end the meeting?
I'm just honest. I think when we have those meetings, that the times that it's been us and we've had to say something, I'm just gonna be like, I'm going to be just really upfront. Seems like you've got something working really well for you. You seem very bright and very smart. I don't know if you need us. So I put it more back on us.
But they're like, no. I want you to.
I'm like, I get that, but it would be doing you a disservice to take you on knowing what I know, which is that I don't think we can add significant value based on what you've told me.
You don't get any stalkers that like you have to like just get point blank with?
Not really.
Not from the applications.
Yeah, not from companies that have gotten to that point where they're already doing 3 to 10 million entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs can be eclectic, but they're not insane.
Are you guys getting stalkers with your social media?
I wouldn't say like stalkers.
You getting crazy fans that are finding you out in public and wanting pictures?
We get recognized a lot. That happens.
Which
often.
is fine.
Yeah, we love seeing Mozi Nation out in the wild.
Yeah, that's nothing wrong with that. We haven't had anyone be like super weird. It may be a couple of years ago we had some stuff, but we've figured out how to not let those things be online.
And some people get nervous like in person and all, they're probably a little bit different than they would normally be, and they talk a little faster, they're sweating, but like that's, I don't get that. Just be real,
And they're sweating.
I think it's actually an age thing. Like I've noticed a lot of like younger people probably get more nervous or freak out and scream, type thing. Versus like I think the older someone is, the more they're like they just come and want to have a conversation. We'll ask them questions, have a conversation.
We love seeing those.
So who do you guys look up to? Who do you admire?
Elon and Jeffy B.
Why so then?
And Warren. I consider them on a first name basis because they're my fictitious friends.
Why Jeff B?
I mean, he's done something that, I think we aspire to be able to build. He's built something that's helped zillions of people, like hundreds of zillions of people every single day just live a little bit better of life. And Elon's done the same thing, and he's helping the planet, and he's trying to save humanity. Like he's combined doing good for society with making a profit, which is, that's the holy grail as far as I'm concerned.
Well, don't you think that Amazon was just a good idea? Like, they started out as a book company, and then it's like, hey, why don't we just let people get access to anything? Well, that would have been a natural progression for me. I don't think you had to be a genius to figure that out. And then I don't know how he marketed it or how Amazon became Amazon, but like to me, Amazon's not rocket science. It's a 24/7 store with cheap prices and immediate delivery. Because that shit on Amazon ain't even Amazon's. Half the time you buy it on Amazon, it comes from freaking Walmart, and vice versa. I'm not shitting you.
Yeah.
Some of those automated e-shoppers, or whatever they're called, e-com stores. I ordered something one time from Amazon. It showed up in a Walmart box.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell?
They source from everywhere.
Yeah, but then I started talking to these e-com guys, and that's what happens. So do you think that's a genius, Amazon? Was that genius?
I think so.
I think if you read like his letters to shareholders, like I read like it was 20 something years of letters.
Yeah.
I think that most people just give up. And so that's why they don't get where he is. So like, is it a genius idea? Maybe, maybe not. But the fact is like, he didn't get any returns for his shareholders for 12 or something. It was a ridiculous amount of years. Yeah. And
what were the shareholders saying?
Yeah. And he didn't take any money, and he just over and over again sold them. He's like, in 20 years, in 30 years, this thing is going to take over the world. It's going to be enormous. This is what it's going to look like. And he was paying that vision. Yeah. And so I think that kind of fortitude and almost like hard-headedness to reach that goal, I don't think most people have that.
Yeah. I agree.
I'd say it's genius execution. You know what I mean? Like that's what I think. Like that's what the genius of the, and like especially at that size, it's genius in recruiting talent, because Jeff Bezos isn't building Amazon. He's building the people who build the teams who build Amazon. And so it's like, I think it's just continuing to move up in the scale of leverage, per unit of time. And so they've just figured out how to get the most return on their time by using every form of leverage that we have.
What do you think the most ingenious invention of all time has been?
My favorite one is air conditioning.
Probably something I've never
Especially
heard of.
after you live here.
Yeah.
I don't keep up with much of like the stuff, like inventions and the AI and
To me, Google.
Yeah.
Like, dude, whoever thought up Google, that was a genius move.
Do you remember like Ask Jeeves, Lycos, like there was all these other search engines that happened at the time? And so it's to your point about like, is it the idea or is it the execution? Like that's what I think the genius is that they were able to, like, they have the character traits that enable to like persevere. So the idea is simple, the execution is hard.
Well, like YouTube and Vimeo, for example. I heard Vimeo was first.
Yeah.
And YouTube dominated. And the main reason YouTube dominated is because they had like 8 share buttons and Vimeo only had 1.
Yeah, I believe it. I mean, it's execution, right? It's like, it's all the little things that add up that become the big thing.
So have you guys cracked any good freaking sweet partnerships at acquisition already?
You mean in terms of companies that were like, that could sell or that like have grown a lot?
That you've said, okay, we're in. You're in.
Yeah.
I like you.
Oh, yeah.
The 3 things.
Yeah, absolutely. We have, I don't know, 8 right now.
What's your goal?
It's less about a number goal because this is why Warren Buffett's also one of my heroes, because, he has 19 people who work at Berkshire Hathaway, and then they are responsible for 500,000 or 1 million employees. So that's the holdco. And so you just have this very concentrated group of really hardworking, really cool, really smart people who are able to influence just, zillions and zillions of customers.
Don't you ever find that it's hard to keep the true ones, because the true ones are going to say, why would I do it for you when I can do it for myself?
Do what for us?
Whatever you want me to do for you. If I'm your
employees,
if I'm your number two,
the team? Well,
I mean, I think of it in terms of the same way with customers, which is like, if you want to keep a team, you have to give more than you're receiving.
Yeah.
Like, you have to always look at it like that. And most employers do not. They look at it like, what am I getting from you? Rather than like focusing on like, when's the last time I gave to my team? Like, how much am I giving? How much goodwill am I putting in with my team? And good people, I mean, naturally you're going to want to do that if they fit, I think, the core values. But then I think second to that is like, that's how they will be treated elsewhere. That's how they would get treated. So if you want to keep them, you would have to do that yourself.
I'm talking about the ones that are so damn good that just do it themselves for themselves.
Oh, like go be, I think, okay. I think there's different kinds of people, which, and they recognize value in different ways, which is there's a lot of people that can do things on their own, but they value having a team of people around them. They value the growth it provides. They value the insights that you get. They value how much they're going to learn. They value the skills that they're going to accumulate in your company. And so I think it's the bigger vision that you can create and that you can paint for your company. They can fit their big vision within that company. And so that's the longer you want to retain someone, the bigger your vision needs to be, because then there's more runway for their vision. So their vision might be, they have this 20-year vision for their career. And your vision for your company, say it's a 100-year vision, then they can fit that 20 years into your vision if you have that much runway. But a lot of people only have a 2 or 4 or maybe not even your vision. So they only see like, I can acquire these 1 or 2 skills at your company, and then I'm going to leave because I don't see any runway. Like, I don't know what comes after that. And so I think that's how you can actually keep talent, is if you do that and then you constantly remind them of it. Like with people on our team, I'm constantly talking about where in the beginning we said they could end up, and like, how are they measuring in terms of like, are they going to get there? What kind of things do they need to change in order to achieve that goal? Like, what's it going to look like when, you're only over 2 people now, but you're going to have 100 underneath of you in X amount of years. So I think it's painting that vision and making sure that theirs aligns with the greater one of the company.
It's kind of like vision for portfolio companies. It's like, this is where you're trying to go. It's just on a micro scale down level, but they're also going to build something underneath of them, just like a portfolio company CEO would. And I got this from Steven Schwartzman in his book, What It Takes. But he said, and it was just such an awakening for me, but he was like, level 10 talent is only attracted to level 10 opportunities. And so, if you have this unbelievable genius coder, marketer, builder, whatever, if you can attract them to, like, Facebook employs lots of very, very smart people. And some people at Facebook make $10 million, $20 million, $50 million a year, and they make more than 99.99% of entrepreneurs. And so, like, I think as long as the vision's big enough and they can fit, like Leila said, and the opportunity they can see, a lot of people are like, well, on a risk-adjusted basis, I see this thing going all the way to $1 billion or $10 billion. I'm one of the first, 20 in this company, and they have, equity plans and stock options and things like that. So I get to participate as an owner, but I don't have the risk of trying to build this on my own. I get to get paid the whole time. A lot of people, that's a pretty attractive deal.
Man, you guys seem to have it all figured out.
Hardly.
There's a lot of people struggling just to get into a fraction of the position you guys are in. Why do I say that? Well, it's not just the dough. It's the ability to produce at will. You know what I mean?
I think it's just taken I think willingness to fail, like both of us in the beginning, especially, like, we were willing to just eat shit for a long time.
And you probably still are.
Yeah, 100%. Building acquisition.com, we're working more now than we have in the last 2 years, 3 years.
But I mean, I'll bet you there's more to it than anybody even knows. Only you two really know the full picture.
It's cool. It's a good model.
That's good, though.
Excited for it. Huh? Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be cool.
Well, so I'm correct.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Well,
so that's what I wanted to dig out on this show.
I think a lot of people think, it's Alex and Leila, investing in companies, and they're, here's my cell phone number, and, text me if you need me, and maybe I'll get on the phone with you once a month type thing. Because that's what a lot of people say they're going to do when they take equity. And I would just not be able to sleep at night if that was the case. This is a company where we're going to be able to improve every department. We have strategic advising, we have tactical advising, we have recruiting, we have IT, we've got our SOP and our system for each leg of their business that we're going to help imprint so that we can grow it. And so I think it's the way that we see that we can over deliver to the companies, which is what we want to do, because that's just like part of our brand. I think seeing it play out in the next 2 years will be really cool. And I hope that it sets a new standard for the industry in terms of if you're going to take equity for a company, you better deliver on this level, because I think a lot of people can just talk people who are really susceptible into giving them equity and not delivering. Yeah. And it's BS.
Dude, I could do it. Yeah. And I've been offered equity, and I tell them, I'm like, dude, why would you give me 20% of your company so you can call me once a month?
Yeah.
I don't even know what the hell you're doing. Right. I'm still trying to figure out my shit.
So, I mean, the goal with acquisition too is we wanted to build a business that built businesses. So we didn't have any intention, we don't have any intention of ever selling acquisition.com because, having now gone through exiting the other 3 businesses, I think we learned a lot. But we were building, what we consider our core team of geniuses. And just hardworking, really, really smart people who have tons of experience in these domains. And so if we wanted to build or get exposure to a certain marketplace, let's say we wanted to, get exposure to Web3 and crypto and all this stuff, rather than say let's go start a Web3 company, we would say, well, let's just see if we can find a Web3 company that fits within our values, and then we can help build that business as a part of the portfolio. And then from an overarching perspective, you asked earlier, why do we have so much cash, or why are we not investing as heavily? And I think it's partially because for us, we're not going to get to $1 billion, being genius investors. At least that's just not. I just don't think that's we didn't make the money that we have being investors. We made the money that we have building businesses, and so I don't want to try and compete in a vehicle that I'm not that I don't think I have the experience to be the best at. I'm not saying we're the best at business, but we have already laid a track down that we put some level of time into this game, so we get disproportionate returns for every additional year we put into it. And so the equity value that is held in acquisition.com, that's the thing that will be worth $1 billion, $5 billion, $10 billion plus in the future, not what I do with necessarily even the money that comes out of that business. And so anyways, that's at least how I see us getting to our financial goals through that vehicle.
Yeah. And I think just to add to that is, could we learn the investing side and make $1 billion from investing? Absolutely. It has been a conversation. It was probably more like a year and a half ago when we were trying to figure out what we were going to do after we sold the companies. And I know for me specifically, and then Alex agreed, I'm like, dude, I do not want the life of somebody who does that. I know plenty of people who do, and they make boatloads of money. I don't like it. It's not I want to be working with people, helping businesses grow, in the dirt, doing that stuff. I don't want to be working off these spreadsheets and, making deals and negotiations. We know the life because we have so many people that do it, and it's just not of interest to either of us. It's not what makes us, it doesn't provide much fulfillment, enjoyment.
Yeah. Well, folks, I was going to say, man, you better go to acquisition.com and put in your bid, but doesn't sound like you got much of a chance.
It's a great company. We always love looking at great companies.
I mean, we look at everyone thoroughly.
Yeah.
Well, here's what you can do anyway. You can get a $100 million offer book. What's it officially? 100M offers?
$100 million offers.
Yeah. So you guys can find it everywhere. It's purple. That's another thing, dude. You made it purple and big and almost second grade looking.
That's right.
But it teaches you specifically and exactly how you lay out some offers and market it.
Yeah.
Those 4 areas.
The value equation.
Yeah, the value equation, dude. That thing right there, that alone is worth the price of the book. The book was 99 cents.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Dude, why 99 cents? That thing should have been $99. And people would have. Well, they may not have bought it actually.
Right, maybe.
But they didn't buy it because it's 99 cents. I think they bought it because it's you.
I think what happened is, I think there's different ways that people can find out about the book. And for everybody who didn't know who we were and just goes and sees 5,000 5-stars, on Amazon, they'll be like, well, there's other 5,000 5-star books, but this one's 99 cents. I'll give it a shot. And then they, it just gets more people in, because the thing is what problem are we solving with the book? Why publish the book? It's not to make money, from the book sales. It's to just give more value to the community. And so 99 cents, the amount of people that bought it from it's funny you say the 99 cents versus $12, but the amount of people from Singapore and Africa and Thailand and Philippines who are I could afford the book. Thank you so much for making it 99 cents. I'm studying it like a course. I can't afford anything else. That's cool. And the thing is
they're all reaching out.
Some of them have audiences, and then they shared it to their audiences in their communities, and all of them could afford 99 cents. And then some of those people are not in those areas, but are actually in areas and know a person. And so it's really hard because humans are in networks. It's really hard to map a network, but we just know that if we put something that's really good out there and we provide significantly more than it costs in terms of time and money, because the big cost in the book is the time, not the money, then more people find out about us. And then ultimately, the worst case scenario is someone comes in, consumes a ton of stuff, makes tons of money. That's a pretty good worst case scenario, even if they never work with us. I'm like, that's cool. That's great. We're going to die. It's not going to matter anyway. So whatever.
That is true. See, end it with the bomb right there. Folks, the whole thing was a bomb. Go check these guys out at Hormozi and at Leila Hormozi. Acquisition.com. You can Google them. They're very, very hard to miss. I think you guys ultimately are going to hit your $1 billion mark faster than I think you think. What is your goal?
I think
it is $1 billion.
What?
That is a goal, right?
100%.
Yeah, but I mean, how long though?
I would say realistically, I would like to. I'll just give the Alex goal, which is ridiculously unrealistic. But I'd like to be there in 5 years. So if it's 2022 now, for the company to be worth $1 billion in 2027 that year, we need to be doing probably around $100 million in EBITDA at that point at the holdco level for us to hit that. And so I feel like we can do that.
Now, how can the Bomb Squad help?
Share our free content.
Let the people know.
Use it. Make your own business better.
Yeah. Start a business.
Yeah. Use your content. Help the economy.
Yeah. Get jobs.
Yeah.
Build a good team.
Be a good person.
Yeah.
Be a good person.
Don't be greedy.
Don't be greedy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there that, because of that movie Wall Street, think greed is good. Greed clarifies, captures the evolutionary essence. Remember that speech? But greed isn't good. I'm of the mind that you have, where I just ultimately want to show people how to succeed. That's why I started those 3 new businesses I started, and they're all growing rapidly. Awesome. And all I did was, here's a ladder. You're going to have to sell something, number one. Yeah. But here's a ladder. It's sturdy. If you're willing to climb, you'll get up out of the rat race. Yeah. And then start them there. You guys are kind of doing the same thing for businesses. Yeah. So shit, dude. Well, how do I get you guys to run Lightspeed?
Oh, God. No, I knew it.
You guys just need to go in, sit down in those offices, and then call me in 90 days and say, dude, it's fixed. Yeah. You're welcome. And tell me what you want for it. Because I'll tell you right now, man, you guys if you guys knew what was happening here, you guys would be like, holy shit, we can't not do this.
I know.
And it's education. You're an educator. This is education. I think realistically, vision wise, if Lightspeed was ran to that level, like a real C-suite in here, because right now it's just me and my partner, which they're founders, right? So you bring in a real team of executors like you're talking about, this company could end up being worth tens of billions simply from the education space, meaning schools. Like we have one right now we're starting. It's basically first grade, second grade, third grade on demand.
Oh, that's cool.
With all these school shootings. So once that thing's accredited, dude, there's parents all over the country that would much rather have their kids sit down at a computer and go through the classes rather than go to school. People say, well, what about interaction? What about social skills? I have no answer for that. Throw a party 3 times a week and have them all show up and play with each other. I don't know.
I think that a lot of kids can get more social skills from sports and after school activities than they do from sitting in a classroom watching a teacher all day.
And not only that, some of the social skills they develop there are from other dipshit kids that are freaking talking about, blowjobs and shit. Serious.
I don't know much about school right now,
but anyway, so that's just, again, one of those visionary things where, man, what if Lightspeed corrected the educational space where it was literally with every kid or college level person down in the country? That's billions.
Yeah, that's a cool idea. That's a big vision.
Is that not billions?
No,
I mean that's a vision big enough for others.
For sure.
Because there is no other interactive technology out there that I've seen. Yeah. You've seen. You toyed with it. Yeah. So again, what would you do if you were me? Let's just end it with that.
You have to pick one.
Pick one what?
So there's the sales coaching, there's the actual software product itself, there's the, doing first grade, second grade, the automation of school, whatever you want to call it. There's just all of them are massive opportunities. It's just you can only, you can't ride 2 horses with one ass. And so,
Well, how do I get you to help me pick? See, I'm gonna recruit them somehow, some way, only because I got the public on you.
Pressure.
Folks, go follow these cats. As always, until next time, keep it real.
Dropping bombs with the real Bradley. Subscribe now.